Good evening. Arrogant, sexist and bigoted netas. The men who think it is cool to comment and mock and insult women and to reduce the existing of any woman to her looks or morality, those men will be rated tonight on this show. We will reduce their existence. We will define them in levels of sexism and bigotry and racist behavior, if that's what they're doing. So tonight, viewers, it's a poll here where we will debate and add to the list that we have created. It is a list of arrogant, sexist, bigoted netas this election season. I have selected 10, but if you think that someone else deserves a slot here, someone else is better deserving of a slot in the top 10, then call or message, tweet, leave a comment on Involve, give us the name. Now, before I reveal to you, before I unveil this Hall of Shame list with their comments version 1.0, because you and I will sit and add to this, let me tell you why we are doing this tonight. Because I believe, viewers, that we need to collectively raise our voice and reject these politicians. We as voters must send this message tonight. Those who cannot think beyond the looks, body shape and morality of a woman, those who who think that they can suppress women, who think that they can decide how she lives and behaves, those who see Hindus different from Muslims, those who see North Indians different from South Indians, judge on the basis of our skin color, caste, and then try to divide us on these criteria, those will be named and shamed tonight. We will demand that these people be stripped of their powers, be penalized and be shamed in public. So there will be two lists. But before we move to the all-time stars list for this Hall of Shame, let's begin with those who are making news this election season.
प्रियंका गांधी बहुत सुंदर हैं, इसके अतिरिक्त और उनकी कोई प्रतिभा मुझे दिखाई नहीं दे रही है, ना ही राजनीति में उनका कोई अनुभव दिख रहा है।
आत्मविश्वास की कमी झलकती है, उनके पास लीडर नहीं, वो चॉकलेटी चेहरे के माध्यम से चुनाव में जाना चाहते हैं।
महिला है हेमा मालिनी, उसको भी जगह जगह शास्त्रीय नृत्य करा के वोट कमाने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो चिकने चेहरे उनके पास नहीं है।
उसको एक बीमारी है जो सार्वजनिक जीवन में अनुकूल और उपयुक्त नहीं है, वो है, उसको बाइपोलैरिटी कहते हैं। यानी उसकी कभी हिंसावादी चरित्र दिखाई पड़ती है और लोगों को पीटती है।
ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾನಸಿಕತೆಯ ಮೂಲಭೂತ ಯೋಚನೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಕೂಡ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲ ಸಮಾಜದ ಆಗುಹೋಗುಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ಗಮನಿಸಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಯಾವ ಸಮಾಜ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಯಾವ ಹುಡುಗಿಯನ್ನು ಹಾರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡೋದ್ರು, ಅದು ಯಾವ ಜಾತಿಯ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಿಂದೂ ಹುಡುಗಿಯ ಮೈ ಮುಟ್ಟಿದಾನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಅಕ್ಕ ಇರಬಾರದಲ್ಲಿ।
जनता की अदालत से 56 इंच की छाती वाला चौकीदार भाग गया और एक महिला से कहता है, सीतारमन जी आप मेरी रक्षा कीजिए, मैं अपनी रक्षा नहीं कर पाऊंगा।
ये संतुलन कैसे चलाएगा देश को? 50 साल में अगर यही चर्चा रही तो देश का क्या भविष्य हो जाएगा? को 2 बच्चों का अधिकार, तो सबको 2 बच्चों का ही अधिकार होना चाहिए। अगर हम 2 बच्चों पर सीमित है तो उनको भी होना पड़ेगा।
ये घटनाएं जो है रेप की है, छेड़खानी की है, ये 80 से 90% जानकारों के बीच में होती है, एक दूसरे को जानते हैं। बहुत घटनाएं तो ऐसी होती है, काफी समय तक इकट्ठे घूमते रहते हैं और एक दिन थोड़ी अड़बड़ हो गई, उस दिन उठा करके और एफआईआर करा देते हैं, क्या इसने मुझे रेप किया, इसने मुझे छेड़ा।
मुकदमा खत्म हो जाएगा। और इंस्पेक्टर साहब थोड़ा सा एक बात सुन लो जी, थोड़ा सा यहाँ हिंदुओं का ध्यान रख लो, मेरी बात सुनो ध्यान से। आपने कोई बात इनसे कही, अगर नहीं करते हैं ये कोई बात नहीं भाई, इन्होंने थाने तक बुलाया, नाम है, ये भुगतेंगे फिर उस बात को।
Like I said, this is version 1.0 We are open to more suggestions and more comments. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Anila Singh, spokesperson for the BJP, Ritvika Bhattacharya, an author, joining us this evening. Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson for the Congress Party. Fuad Halim, leader of the CPIM. Thara Krishnaswamy, activist, joining us this evening. And so is Saira Shah Halim. Let me actually first begin with Saira and Thara. Saira, coming to you first. What do we do with this sexist, bigoted kind of political class that we've been given? I don't think we deserve them, but how do we get rid of them? And also, we put out a list. If there is any other name, Saira, that comes to your mind that we haven't, then do mention.
Thanks, Tanvi. I think this is a pertinent debate. Like, if you look at the history of our ministers, our politicians, cut across most of the party lines, they have made statements like painted and dented. They've made statements like 50 crore ki girlfriend. A few days ago, Mr. Rahul Gandhi made a statement that he needs a woman to defend him. So cut across all party lines, no one has exercised refrain from making misogynistic and regressive statements. Now look at Priyanka Gandhi's appointment into politics. Not a single kind word on her appointment. Whether it was our defense minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, whether it was any other male politician, they made pot shots at her that she's carrying dynastic politics forward. I mean, if a doctor son can be a doctor, a lawyer's son can be a lawyer, why can't women enter a male-dominated bastion and prove their worth? If Jawaharlal Nehru's daughter, Indira Gandhi, went on and became the prime minister. So I really don't understand what is the issue. If a woman wants to change things and she's been given a certain responsibility. So such sexist remarks are a really bad representation of us as people, because ultimately we have chosen our leaders. And globally they represent us, and it's a very unfortunate thing to be happening in 21st century India.
Okay, so let me also bring in Thara Krishnaswamy here, Thara, and we have an entire range. Some are more bigoted, less sexist. Some are racist. You know, they think it's okay to comment about a woman's skin color and body shape and differentiate between who comes from where. But all of them, at the end of the day, reduce us to these categories. Is there a name that comes to your mind that must be added to your list? Of course, the former Chief Minister of Karnataka today is right ahead, in front of this, on top of this list tonight.
Yeah, a couple of things that strike us is that, you know, the parties never condemn the people that do this. Right? Regardless of which party it is, when someone from the other party does it, there's outrage. But when it's their own party, there's just stunned silence or just pregnant pauses. I don't know. They don't condemn them. They don't act against them. And it's as if it never happened. So, which means that they're given a free pass and then they go ahead and get a ticket again to stand. Clearly, they do not have the maturity to be leaders, but that doesn't seem to matter at all. They get tickets to stand and they go ahead and stand and they end up getting elected. So it's the last part, I think, that we need to worry about, the fact that so many people vote for them. I suspect that many, many women and right-thinking men do not know some of these statements they make, despite some of the publicity and outrage that the media has generated around this. So one of the things that we need to do is to call out and name and shame them systematically going into elections, because that pretty much is our only weapon. Because once they're elected, we're stuck with them for 5 years. So we've got to make a really big deal of them, acting in almost a misogynistic fashion and feeling that they can not only get away with it, they can actually get elected, become leaders and make laws. I mean, who are these people to be making laws for us when they behave like this themselves? It's shameful. So I think one thing that we should put the spotlight on is to call out them.
Yes, well, we can call out, we will name and shame them, but what is it that the political parties will do? Let's ask them, are they going to condemn any of these comments? Are they going to take action against these people? Adil Singh Bopara, good evening to you. Will you do that? Will you condemn the kind of outlandish behavior that we saw today by Siddaramaiah? The way he was shutting that woman down, brushing her off, pushing her down, telling her to shut up again and again. Is that the way to talk to any woman? Is that the way to talk to any voter in your constituency?
Well, Tanvi, as far as today's incident is concerned, I think there has been a clarification. It was an accident, and Mr. Siddaramaiah's office has expressed deep regret on this entire issue. But coming to the larger issue, I as a citizen, I'm distressed with the rapidly falling discourse in our country. And you see that the things have taken a turn for the worse for post-2014. With the run-up to the elections in 2014, you had the prime ministerial candidate for the Bharatiya Janata Party referring to the UPA chairperson as a Jersey cow. You had the same gentleman who happens to be the incumbent Prime Minister referring to Shashi Tharoorji's late wife as a 50 crore rupee girlfriend. You had obnoxious comments coming from union ministers like Anand Hegde calling our Dalit brothers and sisters and comparing them to dogs. You've had situations where the president of the Bharatiya Janata Party has called opposition leaders and compared them with dogs, cats, mongoose. This is the kind of phraseology which is becoming the dominant theme in this country.
Yes.
And politics aside, I think it is indeed very worrying.
Let me make
the
your
tools
life
of engagement
simpler
for
to
the BJP, the tools of engagement for the BJP
Adil,
have
let
become...
me make life simpler for you. There is me on this panel, and we have 3 non-political voices on this panel. Leave the job of highlighting the names from each of the political parties to us. Trust me, all of us will do a very unbiased job about it. We have no soft corners for any of the political parties. The question to you is, what action will you take? The question tonight is, what action will you take when your own Congress president thinks to say that a man is hiding behind a woman is some kind of a jibe and some kind of a negative comment? So obviously, it's okay for Siddaramaiah to talk down to a woman because she dare question him.
You're taking that statement. I'll respond to that.
Was that statement also accidental?
No, I'll respond. I'll respond to your question. We have full faith in your independence. We have full faith in your independence. Let me put that as a matter of record. But as far as Mr. Rahul Gandhiji's statement is concerned, I think you're taking it out of context. It was said in the context of the Rafale scam. The Congress party's consistent position was that the Prime Minister must respond to these charges because he was the individual who negotiated the deal.
So if the defense minister
floor
today
of the
was
House, we were
Manohar
expecting the
Parrikar,
Prime Minister to respond.
so if the defense
if you
minister
pull that out
today,
of context, then
no, it is not out of context. If the defense
it is
minister
not.
today
It could have been
was
Manohar Parrikar, it could have been Mr. Jaitley,
would
it could have been anybody.
Would Rahul Gandhi have said
it has nothing to
Narendra
do with the
Modi
gender.
went and hid behind a man? Would he have said that? Or would he have said that he went and hid behind Manohar Parrikar slash defense minister? Tell me, does it even sound logical to you? Do you think he would have said Narendra Modi is hiding behind a man? Why was a woman, why was her gender pointed out
I followed
specifically?
your point. I followed your point. Tanvi, the Congress party has been the strongest votary for women empowerment, and we've demonstrated by action. Please don't take the Congress president's statement out of context. It was said in the context of the Rafale scam. There is a background to it. The Prime Minister negotiated the deal. The Prime Minister struck a deal for his friend Anil Ambani and gave him a bonanza of 30,000 crore rupees. We wanted the Prime Minister to speak on the issues which concern this deal, on how the deal was awarded to a company with zero prior defense experience. That's completely taking it out of context. But coming to the theme of your discussion today, I tend to concur with you that the public discourse is falling rapidly and we all need to work towards it. The BJP's tools of engagement, like I pointed out earlier, are hate, violence, bigotry, sharpening political fault lines in society, sharpening religious fault lines in society. Let's be very clear. We follow Gandhiji's ideology, which is based on sincerity, which is based on inclusive development, which is based on respect for women. Whereas the BJP practices Nathuram Godse's ideology. So I think all of us must come together and reclaim.
Siddaramaiah today, Adil, was literally just one step away from punching this woman. The body language says it all. It's not accidental. He is fuming.
You're seeing it.
He is fuming because she has dared to question him and said, you only come here when it's election season. I have been wanting to ask about this hospital for so long, but you didn't even turn up. Now, I am going to leave it for the viewers to decide. You have said your piece and I have said my piece.
Tanvi, there was an interaction. There was an interaction between the constituent and Mr. Siddaramaiah. That was an accident.
Sure. I don't know what the accident part I can understand, because he was trying to take away the mic, and in that process he got hold of her dupatta and pulled the dupatta. If you tell me that was an accident, I will buy your excuse. But if you tell me the entire sequence of events, the way she was made to shut up, the way she was made to sit down, the way she was told that we will speak and you will listen, how dare you ask this question?
Nobody tried to shut her up. Nobody tried to shut her up.
Adil, the entire sequence with audio is there.
There were several constituents before the lady, several constituents after the lady.
She's surrounded from what I can see in the
screen.
screen.
Some flagged issues. The ministers responded to that. This was a genuine dialogue. We believe in a two-way process. Tanvi, I get your point. You've seen a part of that video. I follow your point. You've seen a part of the video. But if you see what preceded it and what followed subsequently, there was an interaction. The Congress party believes in a dialogue. We don't believe in a one-way approach. We don't believe in a man ki baat.
Okay, the visuals are running on the
dialogue
screen.
Where you tend to put people down.
It's a 1.5 minute long video that we have already put out for our viewers to judge which side is speaking the truth here. Now, let's move to the other party. And since you're talking about this list, and one of our viewers actually has commented saying Kailash Vijayvargiya tops this list for sure. Kailash Vijayvargiya, a repeat offender, has now just this week, this is one of his comments, in reference to Priyanka Gandhi Vadra entering politics officially, he has said, कांग्रेस के पास मजबूत नेता नहीं है, इसलिए वो ऐसे चॉकलेटी चेहरे का माध्यम से चुनाव लड़ना चाहती है. Of course, there are many more, including Sushil Modi, who said election is not a wrestling match, nor is some kind of a beauty contest. But I think Subramaniam Swamy actually takes the cake when it comes to comments regarding Priyanka Gandhi, because he straight away just said she has a mental disorder.
Tanvi, I think
and she's
Mr.
not
Modi
for public. She's not fit for a public role.
Calling the UPA chairperson Jersey cow. It starts from the very top. The rot starts from the very top. It's Mr. Modi.
And
these people are foot soldiers.
And that.
It all started from Mr. Modi.
So
referring to Sunanda Tharoor as a 50 crore girlfriend.
Anila Singh, what do you tell yourself when people from your party speak like this and reveal their mindset towards women? How do you explain to yourself why you are still in that party where there is zero respect for women and you're reduced to your size, to your body shape, to your looks every single time?
Tanvi, since our constitution was made, more than 70 laws has been made for the security, safety of women. Law after law, law after law, law after law. And are women safe, secure today? No. Women has evolved in themselves, but the mindset of the man hasn't changed. And the fresh example is right now on your panel, Mr. Adil. When you asked him about Mr. Siddaramaiah's incident, what he did? He was advocating him. He was not sorry about it. Not once he said, no, that behavior was improper. Who knows? That woman might have been touched in an improper way. The way he had tried to snatch that microphone from her hand. Even he pulled her dupatta. So, I mean, this is the mindset, this is the misogynist approach of the men towards women. And because of this, any person, whether in politics or in some other field, they keep on objectifying women. They keep on seeing the women from the lens of the physical appearance. Whether they are beautiful, whether they are not beautiful, how they look. I mean, they are not judged by their capabilities, but by their looks. And it is not only about one political party,
So do you feel disappointed that there are so many of the BJP Netas in my list tonight, and very soon we will unveil the all-time stars, which will also have more BJP Netas. Why doesn't your party condemn? Why don't you ask Amit Shah? Do you ask Rajnath Singh? Do you ask Narendra Modi? Why are these people being allowed again and again and again and being given important roles? Kailash Vijayvargiya has been given one after the other important political roles.
Tanvi, this is what I am telling you. This is what I am telling you.
Tanvi, can I
years
come
and
in here,
years
please?
together. Like today Rahul Gandhi is there, or Shri Prakash Jaiswal is there, or anybody else is there. Sanjay Nirupam is there, or Abhijit Mukherjee is there. Tomorrow somebody else will be there.
Yes.
I mean, this is the misogynist thought process of the men. I mean, they do not want to change. They do not want to change their understanding of the looks towards the women.
You know what you forgot?
They do not want to understand one thing, that we are much more than looks.
Vinod Narayan Jha, Bihar Minister for Public Health and Engineering of the BJP party, who said Priyanka Gandhi is very beautiful but has no other talent. Yes, she is good looking. God has given her that. But how much can she exploit that now? You miss mentioning that. You also missed mentioning what the BJP UP Vice President
I have condemned each and every political leader, Tanvi. I said any political party, any man,
you only named
not
those
only
of other political
party.
parties.
If they objectify women, it is incorrect.
You only named other political parties, so I'm just going to add some to create balance. Here is what Daya Shankar Singh of
if you want, I can name leaders from my political party as well. I do not have any hesitation in that.
Yes. Okay. Here is what Daya Shankar Singh said. Even a prostitute fulfills her commitment to a man after she is paid, but Mayawati, such a big leader in UP, sells party tickets to anyone who pays her the highest amount. Shocking. And today, after the barbs on Priyanka Gandhi, Congress people turned around, and one of them, Sajjan Singh Verma, said, BJP has no nice and attractive faces. He's admitting that Priyanka Gandhi is a nice and attractive face, which is why she is here. People don't even praise the faces that BJP has. It has only one good face, Hema Malini. The party makes her dance on classical songs to woo voters. Hema gives appealing dance performances. They have been brought on to dance. They are Nachne Wali, somebody from Samajwadi Party, BSP will stand up, add to it, just make it sound more colorful. I mean, I don't know where this stops. And the election season has just begun.
One of the Samajwadi Party leader, he insulted me.
And I'm
telling you, this is the mindset today only.
Yes. And that's unfortunate.
I mean, he said
you are in that
word for me. I can't even spell it on the national channel.
I can imagine. I will not be surprised, because that's how they are. But you know what? Maybe if the party leadership of any political party does not set the examples, then it just becomes worse and worse. And I think women within political parties now need to start speaking up. Ritvika Bhattacharya and Fuad Halim haven't spoken yet. I'm going to go across to Fuad Halim first. Mr. Halim, no political party is above this. How do you change this? Is there a way that we can ensure that some action is taken against them? Or should we give powers to the NCW? Or should we give powers to the judiciary directly to start fining these netas for these obnoxious comments?
Well, at the outset, let us be very clear that my party has not been immune to such misdemeanors of a very serious character. One has to keep in mind that in West Bengal, we have a female chief minister against whom many a times our party members have uttered words which are absolutely inappropriate, unacceptable. Our party has suo moto, without any complaint being filed, has taken action against our party members who have spoken such words. Because this is central to us, and it's central to us not because we are the Communist Party of India Marxist, but because it is one of the fundamental duties enshrined in the Constitution of India. Let me read to you Article 51A. To renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. This is a fundamental duty of each and every citizen of India. In a class-divided society, in a patriarchal society, in a society which has engendered parochial views given our entire socio-cultural ethos, starting from our epics right down to the ownership of property. If you take all the property that's owned in India at this point of time, women own practically less than 10% of all the property that's registered in India, and the property many a times that they own are not ownership in terms of their direct decision making. They are just added on in terms of their husbands, their fathers, or their sons, what you call, decide what is going to happen with the property, how it is to be utilized. If you look at the share market, you will find a sharp stark division in ownership of shares between men and women. So the entire socio-cultural and the socio-economic milieu is heavily loaded against women. We as the Communist Party of India Marxist, we are categorical. Whenever such an incident occurs and our party member is involved, we've had ex-members of the Politburo being censored publicly. We've got members of the legislative team that have been censored publicly. We are very, very cautious that such an attitude will not be tolerated as far as the Communist Party is concerned. Having said that, let's be very clear. This is one of the languages that gets cheap, responses, and it's very unfortunate because in a society that's uneducated, in a society that's back on in terms of literacy and actually taking decisions on an even keel, in that situation, if you are going to denigrate women and try to prosper an electoral prospect, I think so it is not going to take India forward. I will refrain from commenting on misdemeanors committed by other members of other political organizations. I will primarily restrict myself to our organization and how we handle this situation internally.
Okay, let me bring in Ritvika as well. Ritvika, how do we solve this? How do we fix this collectively, each party? And day by day, it's becoming worse, this kind of sexism and bigotry. I mean, we've not even reached the comments where it's all about hate. It's about Hindu and Muslim and upper caste and lower caste and North Indian versus South Indian. It just gets worse around the political election season.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's dismal to see what's happening. It points towards a fundamental, bias that is in the system, in this case on gender, in this case against women. It's really appalling to think about the fact that the bodies of women are being discussed on national platform. What do they look like? Are they going to dance? What are they doing? Instead of the actual merit of who they are. And, someone on the panel said, I believe the gentleman from Congress said that actions speak louder than words. They do, because if you look at the parliament today, given that we are going into general elections, less than 11% of the parliament today consists of women. So if we look at the gender disparity themselves, right, there is your problem. You don't have enough women in the political space. And I think that's your answer right there. I think, one of the fundamental solutions is that we need to bring in diversity. You have a list today, Tanvi, and thank you for creating a list which is naming and shaming people. Now let's create a list of women who are going into politics, who are going into public spaces. Let's go ahead and applaud those women, because unless and until you and I don't come together and everyone on this panel doesn't come together and appreciate the women and what they are doing and how they're coming forward, it's going to be really hard to encourage other women to come into this space and to actually be in public life. Yes. So I think it's good, it's very good. We need to name and shame and create disincentives for men to say this, but we need to create incentives for more women, more Muslims, more Dalits to come out and be in the public space and applaud them publicly.
Oh, absolutely. And those very few who've made it to the parliament and inside the parliament, and when they stand up there and make a demand for reservation for women amongst political parties in terms of their seats, and the response that you get when they stand up and speak about serious issues, about policy making, about women issues, sometimes they are ignored, sometimes they are mocked. It is unacceptable, this kind of a behavior. And then one Mr. Sharad Yadav will stand up and crack some jokes about the looks of one of the MPs, and the whole parliament will sit there and laugh. That's what it comes down to. So I agree with you, Ritvika, and those who've actually entered and are trying to make a difference and are standing up there must be appreciated, because I can imagine what a horror it is to work with these men. I mean, it just infuriates me when I hear them to work with these people. Most political parties don't even have an internal complaints committee. Now, we keep talking about these systems in place for the corporate sector, but political parties don't have that. So even if somebody wants to raise an issue, where will you go? Who will you say it to? That's the other big problem. Mani is on the phone line, calling us from Chennai. Good evening. Please go ahead. What would you like to say?
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I feel, all these comments, for that matter, any of these remarks, whatever the politicians promise or speak, it's accepted. See, only when people accept it, then only the politicians get the confidence to speak on like this. What we must do is the people must react. Such people should not be voted to power at all. And there should be a provision in the election system that we don't vote. We don't vote for anybody if you find the candidate is not competent enough.
Yes.
Totally. And people who don't perform, even if they are ministers, they should be dropped back. They should be called back to continue. They should not be allowed to continue as a minister.
Yes,
People
actually, that's a very good idea.
Development.
That's a very good idea, Mr. Mani. That there has to be a performance indicator, and we should be able to decide if an elected representative needs to go, even if it is midterm, because of poor performance. And one of those indicators also has to be about the way you treat people around you, about those respect that you show to your voter, people who've elected you and put you there in the first place, about how you the message that you're sending out to the society. Yes, Tara, to you, and then to Saira.
So a couple of comments there. One is, I had created a gender scorecard on the Live Mint a couple of years ago to assess politicians on specifically how they look at women, not just in terms of commentary, but in terms of policies, in terms of how the political parties, treat women, their party workers, whether they give women enough representation from health and education. It's a 360-degree scorecard. So something like that we need to look at for politicians and rate every single one of them using a gender scorecard to say, okay, leave aside all your other competencies. As 50% of the population, what are you doing for us? Because at any time they claim there's a women's manifesto or this is a women's issue, even when it's a law and order issue, even when it's a public health issue, it becomes a women's issue. That's number one. So I think it's important to rate them using a gender scorecard and use that as one of the parameters to decide whether they are worth electing, worth supporting, whether they're even worth calling leaders. The second aspect is that, like what Ritika said, I think we can only change things in politics if women enter politics in large numbers. Political parties are significantly preventing that by happening because even though they have lakhs and lakhs of party workers, Mr. Amit Shah had announced that the BJP has 3 crore women party workers. And the CPIM had announced that AIDWA has about 1 crore women in it, right? But you look at the number of women that are MLAs or MPs or even given tickets, right? That's pathetic. It's a single-digit percentage. So basically, they don't seem to be walking the talk when it comes to sharing power.
Yes.
And when you don't have a critical mass of women in parliament, when you don't have a critical mass of women MLAs in assemblies, when issues are brought up, when a Sharad Yadav or somebody makes a nasty comment, or when they're trying to discuss an issue and people around them are heckling them, it's very difficult when you don't have a critical mass of supporters to stand up for you and support you. So It's extremely critical, I think, while we look at, bigotry and misogyny as social issues, we also need to look at the political side of things. Right?
Absolutely.
I want to ask the BJP and Congress spokespeople on the panel here, have they ever told their parties, for such and such a comment that has been made by the individual to not give a ticket, that person shouldn't be standing for election, shouldn't be leading the country, shouldn't be making policy.
Yes, Tara, what we'll do? I'm going to give both of them 2 minutes to think about it. Our viewers are also saying this. So think of one name, Adil and Anila, from your party, that one political leader who may have made a comment that you thought was actionable, and there should have been action, that the ticket should have been taken away. One name, and if you're able to do that, then you can also take one name of your rival political party and make your comment, so that you know that you've done your job for the day as well. Think about it very quickly. I'll go across to Saira. She wanted to make a comment, and you guys can just figure out that one name from your own party as well. And we'll also bring up the list, the all-time stars of Hall of Shame. That list will also come up on our screens for our viewers to go through and see if there are any additions or subtractions to be made from that list. There's some very interesting comments there, so keep an eye on that. Saira, go ahead, please.
Well, Tanvi, we are not exactly covering ourselves with glory when our own Honorable PM makes a statement that when girls are killed in the womb and only 800 girls are left for 200 more boys, then what will happen to that 200 boys? How will they get married? So his statement might be well-meaning, but at the end of the day, it was a misogynistic and regressive statement, and it sent out a very patriarchal message that you should save a girl child just to get the girl child married. So I think cut across all party lines, top to bottom, everybody is going around making misogynistic, regressive, really statements that take us back in time. And people must apologize, whether they said it out of context or not. Because end of the day, the future of our girl child also, it gets reflected, globally at large by such regressive comments made by our politicians.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let me go across to Anila. Would you want to go first? Do you have a name of your own party member? You said you condemn them.
Yes, Tanvi.
Yes.
Tanvi, instead of naming any politician from any political party, because we very well know that who all are there and who all are repetitive offenders, I do not have to name anyone. But I know one thing, that our constitution calls for the gender parity. So this is the expectation, not only as a woman but as a politician also, from all the political representatives from each and every political party, that you are the face of lakhs and lakhs of people. You represent them. So if you are not going to have control on your tongue, or if you are not going to show the respect towards women, then what type of message is going to percolate in the society? So it is the high time that we should start recognizing what our culture says. It says, Yatra naristu pujante tatra ramte devta. So it is good in listening and saying, but these politicians who keep on commenting on women, they should understand also.
Okay, let me
so
make
that
this
a good message prevails in the society. And
let me make this slightly easy for you. Do you think you would condemn गिरिराज सिंह फॉर सेइंग, अगर राजीव गांधी कोई नाइजीरियन लेडी से ब्याह कर किए होते, गोरी चमड़ी ना होती, तो क्या कांग्रेस उसका नेतृत्व स्वीकारती? डू यू थिंक दैट वाज अ गुड कमेंट टू मेक?
each and every politician, whatever comment they have made on women, it is not acceptable.
No,
I
but you know what you're
totally
doing right now,
condemn it. I totally condemn
why are
it.
you, okay, while you're making a generic comment and saying condemning it, what you are doing is reinstating that fact that parties don't take a stand against these netas when they make these comments. Fuad Halim has a point, but very quickly, Adil, do you have a name and a comment
I know
for
my
us?
Limitations.
I can understand, Anila Singh. Adil, do you have a name and a comment for us from your own party, and then you can name one from the BJP if you like?
Well, Tanvi, there are numerous instances where the Congress party has taken action against its leaders for any comment which we feel is outlandish. I wouldn't like to specifically name because action has already been taken against those leaders. But coming to the larger point, I agree with your panelist. I think the time is ripe in our country that we need to increase access to political power. I think the Congress party's proposal of 33% reservation for women in the Vidhan Sabha and the Parliament should be implemented. We had written to the Prime Minister, we had written to the President that we will fully support such a measure. On coming to power later this year, we'll certainly ensure and initiate a constitutional amendment to bring that into our constitution and to implement it. But I think, we focused on misogyny, which is certainly worrying, but at the same time, we see our social fabric tearing down today because of hate, bigotry and violence. I think that's also an issue which we need to really focus on, and that's essentially there's been a spike in hate, in violence, in bigotry, in outlandish and rogue comments coming from MPs and ministers post-2014. And it starts from the Prime Minister. It starts from Amit Shah. We can't let that, we can't brush it under the carpet when Mr. Modi refers to his colleague's wife as a 50 crore girlfriend. I think we need to put this question to Anila ji. Do you approve of Mr. Modi's comment?
Adil, I think so you should check your political members of your party.
to both Mr. Boparai and Ms. Anila Singh, I'm sorry, you only get to name, you only get to point fingers at the other side, provided you're willing to admit what's happening at your own end. So either you admit that what Siddaramaiah, the way he behaved,
the Prime Minister of our country.
Either you admit the way Siddaramaiah behaved was wrong, or Rahul Gandhi and what he said was wrong, then you can go ahead and name the other side, and it goes for both political parties. Otherwise, it makes no sense. You keep pointing fingers at each other, and we will not reach any constructive conclusion. Fuad Halim, go ahead, please. You wanted to come in.
I just want to say that this patriarchal mindset is not only a domain of the male section of the politicians. You know, sometimes this patriarchal, what you call mindset, is so overwhelming and so overbearing that sometimes female politicians succumb to it. We've seen Sumitra Mahajan, who was the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, speak in a derogatory fashion on the question of Priyanka entering into politics, saying that her brother could not, and that's why his sister came into action at that point of time, and that was demeaning the post of the Lok Sabha Speaker, because she should not in her impartiality be commenting on the internal politics of another political organization, especially somebody who is not a member of the House. So I think so this patriarchal mindset sometimes is so overbearing that whether it be male or women, you know, for their petty political party, what you call ends and benefits, they sometimes succumb to it. So I think so it's a very deeply embedded what you call thought process that needs to be challenged from a very fundamental position. Unfortunately, as I again submit that our party members have been what you call doing this, but we have been taking swift and prompt action, and with public apologies, because any such derogatory comment made against any woman politician or any woman for that matter, if it is made publicly, the apology also as per our party rules has to be a public one. And that's the only
I think it has to go beyond apology. I think it has to go beyond apology, Mr. Fuad Halim. And maybe then once you do that, even from your party, there will be lower number of offenders.
Also, subsequent action
because you take away their rights, you take away their power, and then maybe, you know, it will be a lesson learned. Ritvika wanted to come in. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, I think it's not just about the elections now. It's not just about how women are being treated now. I think this commentary on women, and particularly women in politics and in public life, has been around forever. So I think, you know, election certainly highlights the issue which is there, but it is a problem which has perennially been there. And a big part of it is certainly, you know, the fact that we don't have enough women in politics, but it's also reflective of the larger culture. The fact that we don't accept women in major power, in major offices as easily. And it's about time that we accept that this is not just a part of the corporate culture, but it cuts across. And I think the first step is admission, the fact that we have a problem. And once we admit the fact that this is a major problem which is there, only then can we solve it, by whether it is bringing in more women into politics, whether it is bringing in more women into public life. So we have to admit as a first step, we, in terms of people in public offices, have a problem in terms of talking about women in a derogatory term, and this is a problem that needs to be fixed immediately.
I have a comment, Tanvi.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So I've been looking at the comments that you've been flashing on screen.
Yes, coming to you next, Saira. Yeah.
I've been looking at the comments that, you know, from the various politicians that you've been flashing on screen, amusing comments. And, you know, because they're so offensive towards women, we kind of zoom in on that and don't see beyond that. But if you look at those comments, what strikes me is not just that they are misogynist or sexist or bigoted, which they very much are, but that adjective actually gives them too much credit in a certain sense, because these comments indicate that they're completely ignorant, clueless, and dumb. I'm sorry to use that word. How many netas go around saying rape is consensual? How many netas go around saying, you know, women are beautiful and therefore they get ahead? I mean, that just exposes a level of mind-boggling ignorance. The question is, why are we electing stupid people? That's a bigger question, right? If nothing, they should be fired for stupidity. It is so ridiculous to make comments like this. Who thinks that people become friends and then they get raped, or that, it's not a gang rape if it's 2 or 3 people? What kind of nonsense is it? It just betrays a high level of ignorance on the one hand.
Yes.
Second is you politicians sitting on the panel today saying we will pass the women's reservation bill. I want to ask one question. You don't need any bill, dear politicians, to give tickets to women to stand for the 2019 elections now. How many tickets is your party going to give? Will they give that 33%?
So
Will they give 25%?
So you know,
20%?
even the Congress party, Tara, who otherwise keeps claiming that they are leading this fight for women reservation bill, that they want the government to bring in the quota bill and have a conversation about it inside the parliament. If you look at the statistics, even of the last round of elections and the one before that, the state elections, they have given the same percentage of seats to women as BJP has. There is no difference. Maybe a couple of percentage more, but all of them below 20%. That's the representation. I mean, the other political parties like Samajwadi Party led by Mulayam Singh just turn around and say they won't even do it. That this women quota and all is all for urban women, short hair women, and it only benefits them and has no benefit otherwise. But I think each political party and leaders and party presidents and women leaders and ministers need to sit back and think where we are taking our political discourse. Is it all right to turn around when a woman MP is talking and say, 2 दिन में तुम नाचने वाली movies में नाचने वाली से अब political विश्लेषक बन गई हो? Is that the right thing to say? Here is another one. Another Congress party, Kerala Congress working president says, and he's talking about the Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. When he assumed power, we thought he might do something like men, but he has become a senseless Chief Minister. Even a woman would have done better. He is worse than a woman. What does that even mean? Maybe Rahul Gandhi can explain, since he thinks hiding behind a woman is also a negative trait. Completely out of time. But this is going to continue. This election season, we will keep updating this list of sexist, bigoted, hate-filled netas who should have no place in our political section. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our panelists for joining us on this debate. Here's something about the big announcement that was made by the Congress party and the Congress party president today, viewers. Rahul Gandhi has announced a minimum income guarantee for the poor if their party is voted to power. Now, I thought I will just break it down very quickly to really try and understand what does he mean when he says minimum income for the poor. Firstly, it will not be a universal basic income, UBI, which is a concept that has been spoken much about, where everybody gets some fixed amount of money from the government, especially when you are not employed. This will not be a universal income. It will not be for everyone, but it will be for the poorest of the poor, perhaps those who are below the poverty line, who don't even have food sometimes, and who don't even have money to survive on a daily basis. It will most probably not be like the current Manrega or the rural employment scheme, because this does not have a work requirement, irrespective you give this amount of money to the poorest of the poor. Now, what could it mean? What could it cost? I am putting this out as our own calculation because the Congress party hasn't given us the details yet. So we would want to hear from the Congress party what their math is. But if you look at the 2011-2012 census, India roughly had about 269 million people below the poverty line, say 270 million, that's roughly about 27 crore. If we assume that since then to now we have improved the quality of living, we have eradicated poverty, and say at least 250 million people or 25 crore people right now below the poverty line will start getting 800 crore rupees per month under this scheme. That would mean about 9,600 rupees per year is what the government will have to spend on each poor person. That's roughly about 2.4 lakh crore rupees of an annual bill. Where will this money come from? The idea here is to break this down for you. It's not to say that 4 or 5% of the GDP will go into it. Perhaps the Congress party will need to look into taking away some of these subsidies and freebies that are currently active. So rather than saying we will give you cheaper food and cheaper fuel and give you subsidies on your fertilizers, the government may end up saying, here is some money in your bank account, you do what you want with it. Is that a workable solution? And more importantly, right now, could this be a narrative-changing poll plank for the Congress party? We will have to wait and watch, and we hope there is more clarity that comes into this big idea that has been proposed by Rahul Gandhi. Here is what former Finance Minister Mr. P. Siddaramaiah said in an exclusive conversation to Mirror Now.
We are not proposing to introduce the universal basic income, which was outlined in the economic survey by Dr. Arvind Subramanian. As I said in my tweet, we are adapting, underline, adapting the principle of UBI, and we've announced, the Congress Party's president has announced, a minimum level of income for every family, which means we will start from the poorest of India and go up, so that every family, every household reaches a minimum level of income. So it's certainly not the UBI. UBI would have given an allowance to both you and me, but that's not the idea. The idea is to lift the poorest in India to a level of minimum income. Once we agree on the line, once we agree on the limit which will define who is poor, then the scheme will be devised in such a manner that we will start with the poorest among them and progressively cover every one of them, so that all the families, all the households come to the minimum level of income. We have a GDP which is about 187 lakh crore. Our annual expenditure this year will be 18 lakh crore. Even at a modest growth rate of 6 or 7%, the GDP will grow. So the question we should ask ourselves is, should we do this? Should India, in the 71st year of independence, attempt something where every family is brought up to a minimum level of income? I think anyone with a heart, anyone with a conscience will say yes. So once you come to the conclusion that we should do it, then we will find a way to do it. We will find the resources to it. As I said in one of my tweets, it is the poor who have the first right to the resources of the country.